Hello, and thanks for tuning in to HXGN TV. I'm Bridget Benedetti, and today we're discussing how to make manufacturing smarter with two smart guests. With us today, we have Norbert Hanke, President of Hexagon's Manufacturing Intelligence Division, and Doug Woods, President of AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology. Thanks for joining us.
Well,
So, Norbert, we'll start with you first. We're here to talk about making manufacturing smarter,
yeah.
but let's get started by getting your view on the state of the industry today. These are really challenging times, aren't they?
Absolutely. I would say as well that the business climate, from my point of view, has dramatically changed. I think we see a lot of requests coming towards the industry to change, looking for higher productivity, quality, and customization of products, I think, from my point of view. And I think that demand is there in the industry, and I think we have now to think about how we can get an answer to this from my point of view. And I think, Doug, what do you think? What's your sense on these kind of things?
Norbert, I agree with you completely. I mean, it is tricky times, when you talk about issues with tariff, trade issues,
Yes.
looking at digesting all these technology issues, but at least on the kind of tariff and trade and those issues, these happen all the time. They're kind of economic swings. What's really, giving me a lot of confidence is some of these core opportunities in the technology areas are really allowing us, even as things start to slow a little bit and let us catch our breath, frankly, we have lots of opportunities, I think, as we go forward, leveraging these really neat, cool technologies.
Yeah, and I think what we have to say as well, challenges has been every time there. And sure, there are more challenging times now. I would not disagree from my point of view, but I think we have as well possibilities, technologies, as you nicely said as well, to say overcome these kind of challenges.
Agree with you.
Right. And it seems like we've been talking about smart factories for quite a while now.
Yes.
So, can you tell us or remind us why manufacturers are so keen to move into this direction?
Yes. From my end, I mean, manufacturing has been, is looking for every time productivity, increases of productivity. And I have seen some improvements for sure, but I think it's now harder and harder to find these kind of better productivities, particularly on processes and so on. And I think what does SMART stands for is really to build in intelligence. And intelligence can be in different ways from my point, because you're connecting data, one thing, but as well to build intelligence already into these kind of solutions going forward. And I think that is what is absolutely needed, and that is why everyone looking for smart.
Got it, got it. And Doug, let's bring you in on that too. Now, your organization is obviously speaking to a lot of manufacturers around the world. What do you think are the key trends and drivers for this subject?
I think right now when you look at the enabling technologies, if you look what's happening with IoT, if you look at open source and open standards, you look at Bluetooth, you look at Wi-Fi, LiDAR, there's all these great ways now to be able to leverage these enabling technologies to drive new kind of transformative technologies, things happening in generative design, things that are happening in additive manufacturing, things that are happening in AR, AI. And I think that's creating a lot of excitement and opportunity in the marketplace to really now move your manufacturing enterprise from kind of an interesting, growth path to really an exponential growth path.
Right. So we're hearing a lot about digitalized factories unlocking the potential of this data. Can you help us understand what kind of data we're talking about that are going to solve these problems?
Yeah, again, kind of one of the interesting things of where we're at with data today is we've got this really neat opportunity where we've got trillions of sensors all over, interconnected to devices, linked together, this Internet of Things that we were just talking about, giving you data to really do neat things. And then it's like, well, what is that data? What do we do with it? And you can kind of break data into a bunch of different groups, but, starting out with descriptive data, basic explanation of, what actually happened on my factory floor. And then starting getting into predictive, what might start happening, and what could I use that data to predict what might happen next? And then diagnostic, actually starting to get into what caused the problem, why did that thing happen? Then eventually getting out to prescriptive, where you're really looking at, the move as you're talking about here at Hexagon relative to prescriptive, smart factory, making decisions more autonomously. That's really the neat place you want to end up. And so there's stages of life with data that you can collect that build you into a position to really take advantage of this exponential trend.
Right. Oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, as well. I mean, we are not short of data, right? That's
Right.
the point. It's now, as nicely Doug said, how do we use this data and make this data to work? And I think that's the key thing going forward. And I think the end is for sure the prescriptive way. but there is a way to go, right? Step by step. It's
Right.
not overnight. I think that maybe is another, say, message from our side as well.
Right.
But start now, from my point.
Prescriptive is the future state.
Hmm.
So, but smart factories sound like they're going to solve a lot of problems. But why do you think we're not further along in the process?
I think personally that is to a certain extent a bit overwhelming. When we started off, say, the discussion, I think we talked earlier at one point in time about Industry 4.0, and it was a bit blurry from my end. I think we are getting now more and more solid what we are believing in. We are seeing now more and more enabling technologies from my end. Sure, 5G is one of them. Artificial intelligence, you mentioned this already, I think is one of them. And I think that's the key thing, that we take this now step by step from my point.
And do you agree that a mindset shift is needed in our industry today?
Absolutely. And I think before we had the point of silos, we see this as well in our, say, ecosystem where we're working on, if this is on the metrology side, on the production side, or on design side as well. And I think for us it's super important now that we break down the silos and that people are thinking about a digital ecosystem in total. And I think that's means the mindset as well. To a certain extent, we have a phrase, look left and right, not only more or less in your known territory, for a better word.
So, what is Hexagon going to do to help manufacturers overcome some of the barriers we've discussed
Yeah.
today?
I was already mentioning a little bit in the ecosystem we are working on. So we try now as well to make it as seamless to have data flows between the silos and then analyze the data, bring the data to work, as we nicely said, and make things smarter, even if it's smaller steps, but it's a step forwards to a great vision from my point of view. So that's, I think, super important for us. The other thing is we're combining now virtual world with the reality world, meaning we know on the simulation side how things, say, should be done, and we know what it's really at the end, what it looks like, and we now combine things very nicely from my point of view and combine this as virtual reality, I think. And the third one is maybe more the approach side, where I would say we have the big vision, but we take step by step. So that's the three things I think how Hexagon can help to come to the conclusion from my point of view to have a smart factory.
Right, step by step. Well, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, a big thank you to our guests, Norbert Hanke and Doug Woods. For more information about how you can make it smarter, visit hexagonmi.com. To watch additional episodes or learn more, visit hxgnspotlight.com. I'm Bridget Benedetti. Thanks for tuning in.